All right, what's going on? Let's talk about risk management. All right, so get this out of the way. All right, so let's talk about risk management and a couple of rules that I'm going to establish for this video. Okay, risk management rules. 1, I absolutely stress one trade per day. One winning or losing trade per day, right? So, So, what do I mean by that? I typically have an amount, which I'll get into the amount in a second, that I'm willing to win or lose in a specific day, and I risk it on every trade. I aim for 1-to-1 RR per trade on average. So what I mean by that is I'm risking the same amount to lose as I am to win. So if my stop loss equals $250, then my take profit will equal $250. And once I'm up or down $250 on the day, that's it. I'm done. So one winning or losing trade per day. This helps prevent FOMO. This helps prevent over leveraging. This helps prevent over trading. Very strict rule that has saved me, because I will talk to people and they'll be like, hey dude, like, I'm doing 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio, yet I'm, making 250 one day, but I'm losing 1,000 the other. And it's like, oh, maybe because you're on all day. You're trading Asia session, you're trading PM session, you're trading lunch. Like, bro, go eat some fucking food and talk to some bitches, potentially, because what the fuck are you doing? You're on the charts all day? Like, that is another thing. You only want to be trading from that 9:30 to 11 a.m. time frame. I've made money trading in Asia. I've made money trading later in the day, like PM session. But for my strategy specifically, you're almost always going to be wanting to risk that money in that 9:30 to 11 a.m. Time frame. Now, if you can't trade during that time, then I recommend back testing the time frame that you can trade on and making sure that the strategy is still delivering well and that is still profitable over time. I'm sure it is, but in worse conditions, strategies tend to lag a little bit statistically, and 9:30 to 11, because of its volatility, because of its consistency, is always going to be better conditions than 2 p.m. or 6 p.m., something like that, right? So let's talk about how much you should be risking. So on an eval, this is totally up to you and also your financial situation. As you guys know, I gamble my full fucking evals because I make enough money where I can just buy more. So if I'm on a top step eval where there's a consistency rule, then I'm going to be risking, for a 50K account, $1,000 per trade on a 50K eval. That's if it's like a top step or a My Funded Futures, one with a consistency rule. If there's no consistency rule, I'm gambling that bitch. Now, on a 50K PA, I'm going to be risking $250 to $350 per trade on a 50K PA account. So once you pass it, let's break this down, right? So you have $2,000 in drawdown to work with. Some maybe $2,500. And you are risking, let's say right in the middle, $300 per trade. So what is X? X is going to be the amount of trades that you can take before blowing your account. It's going to be about 6 2/3 of a trade. So if you lose 7 times in a row, then you are going to blow the account. That's how it works. And I want you guys, anybody who's in the premium, you could recruit whoever you want, OGs of this group. When's the last time you've seen me even lose half of 7 trades in a row? When have you seen me lose 3 or 4 trades in a row? I've lost 2 trades in a row. I've lost 3 trades in a row, maybe a couple I could count it on one hand in the last year that I can remember. 4 in a row, I don't even think has ever happened to me. Knock on every piece of wood around me, but that's just a fact. This shit is not going to happen. If you're executing correctly, and if you're following my strategy, or maybe even trading live with me, you're going to be profitable over time. Just hate to break it to you, you watch me make money and pay out money every month. So, that's what I'm saying. So with risk management, a huge part of it, this is how you calculate it. How to calculate risk per trade. So the main thing is, are you trading MNQ or NQ? So obviously NQ equals $20 per point, and MNQ equals $2 per point. Same exact asset. Sometimes one will wick when the other doesn't, just because the market's fucking weird. But it's the same exact shit, basically. Just one of them is a tenth of the price. So what you're going to want to do is, let's say you're risking $300. Let me just go to NQ real quick, right? Let me go to the setup I took today, for example. Fuck, got hella drawings in this bitch. Okay, so this was the trade I took today. It was this 1 minute. Yeah, this fucking absolute banger. Must have been me, right? Yeah, it was to this 5 minute. It was to this unfilled 5 minute. Alright. So, I took this trade on the close with it about here, with a stop at a 1-to-1 at the 5 minute. So, what does that mean, right? That means my stop loss and take profit are about the same, 23 points. One winning trade per day. I went break even before this, so if this won or lost, I would have gotten off after, and of course I did. 1-to-1 RR. Yep. 930 to 11. Yes, this was at 940. 1,000 per trade on a 50k eval. Yeah, if you actually want to look. This was my first day with it. I made 1,200 off this trade on this combine, plus 2 others, just because I'm trying to scale up. And then this doesn't matter. So I traded MNQ maybe with this. So let's talk about this. So let's say I were to risk $300 on this trade. I would write out 300, and then I would go over here to where it says stop 23.5. So that means my stop loss is 23 points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type out the number that I'm risking. I'm risking $300. Then I'm going to divide it by 23, and then lastly, I'm going to divide it by 2. Why am I dividing it by 2? Because that is equal to 1 MNQ contract. 1 MNQ contract is $2. So the number I get is how many MNQ contracts I should trade this trade with. 6.5. So 6 to 7, god damn it. I keep getting 6, 7 off this shit. So 6 to 7 contracts of MNQ are going to risk me around that 300 amount. For example, let's just plug it back in. 23 point take profit. Okay, 23 times 7 contracts times $2 per point, 322. Or if I went the 6 route, 276. So that's how you manage risk, and that's how you calculate how much to risk per trade. You will see it every single time I will do that I will calculate that shit every single time before I take a trade. All right, I de-risked this trade. There was a second setup that I really wanted to take, but my rules say 1 loss, 1 and done. So it's good. I'm glad that you took the 1 loss and you fucked off. That's perfect. That'll help you in the long run so much, so please keep doing that. Now, with the de-risk, fuck are we talking about with the de-risk? What I would say with the de-risk is probably grow some nuts. No, I'm just playing. What I would say is, with the de-risk, there are only a few times where you will de-risk, and if it's conditions are poor, which if conditions are poor, you probably shouldn't even be taking a trade anyway, or if it's you're trying to just pass an account or secure a payout. Besides that, you should be risking the 1,000 on the eval, or you should be risking the 250 to 350 on the 50 kPa. That's just how it is. So, the de-risking thing, unless it's poor conditions and you're still and it's an A+ setup, I always say, I'm going to get on every single day unless it's a bank holiday. And if it's poor, and if it's an A+ setup, I'm going to take it. You look at today, this week's news fucking sucks, right? So we had no news on Monday, no news on Tuesday, Trump speaking later today, and we have FOMC tomorrow. That's a pretty shitty start to the week. Yet I still took this trade with full size. All right? I took this trade on full size with what many would call poor conditions, even though they weren't even that bad today, because I have faith in the system and I'm going to take it, and I know over time, that's how it's going to be. And why do I do that? The reason why I do that is because when you're trading, you're executing what your back-tested statistics have given you, right? What I mean by that is you're trying to execute a system that you've proven to work. And when you were backtesting your system, were you de-risking or risking a different amount per trade? No, you were just taking the trade. If it was your setup, it was your system. If it was your system, and you were executing it, and that's how you got your win rate. I backtested this strategy over hundreds and hundreds of trades, risking the same amount. There were no times where I'd risk less. I was risking the same amount, and I was green as fuck over time. So that's how I feel about de-risking. I think, unless you're trying to secure something, or maybe if the conditions are really shit, but in that case, just get off. You know what I mean? So that's how I calculate risk. Those are my rules, and that's how I feel about de-risking. And that's just risk management. I think there's three assets qualities of trading. There's technicals, there's risk management, there's psychology. I just dropped a psychology video for you guys on FOMO, shit like that. Technicals, I've talked about my strategy a bit. I'm going to keep on dropping more sauce on that in the next couple weeks. And then there's risk management, and I really just gave you the guide. Take one trade a day, risk this much, trade this time period, trade this RR, and that's how you calculate how much to actually put into it. And then just trust it. That's it. All you can do is just do that with that math and trust it and fuck off. If you don't want to do the work of going through and backtesting my strategy, you could just take my word and my payouts as proof, because I'm executing the strategy and you watch me make money on a very regular basis. So if you don't want to do it yourself, you could see me do it, and then you watch, and hopefully that'll give you the confidence to risk what you should be risking. Just don't over risk and don't over leverage. What I mean by that is it's the same thing, but what I mean by that is, don't take a trade and win for 400 and then say, oh, I'm confident. I'm going to risk 700 on this next trade. What? No, you're not, dipshit. All right? The reason why you're not going to do that is because then you don't have a 1-to-1 RR. Because if you make 400 and then you lose 700 the next one, then you're down $300, even though you're at a 50% win rate. How the fuck is that possible, right? So just stick with that number, and maybe if you want to gradually compound your risk over time, you can do that, but you shouldn't be doing that one by one trade. Be consistent, risk what you're supposed to risk, and watch it compound over time. All right, that's my risk management guide.